In a world inundated with data, understanding its types is essential. Ever wondered about the different ways we categorize and understand the vast sea of information around us? From the survey you take, the numbers you crunch, to even YouTube videos you watch, everything revolves around data. So today we are diving deep into the world of statistics to understand the different types of data. Buckle up because it's going to be an enlightening ride. So the flow of content will be like this. First we will focus on type of data and statistics. Then we will discuss in detail about the qualitative data, the quantitative data and the mixed data types with the case study. In statistics, the data is divided into two major categories. One thing we call it to be a quantitative data, the other one is said to be a qualitative data. So what is a quantitative data? From the name itself it shows its quantity. Quantity is measurable. So any numerical data is said to be a quantitative data, which is mainly used to represent the counts or the measurements. Whereas the qualitative data is mainly based on the observation and it involves the 5 senses. So is the data which consists of the name, the label or the description about the particular data. So to understand it in detail, let us look into more examples of the quantitative data and the qualitative data. So the scores on the test and exams which are numeric in nature are quantitative data because they are measurable. The weights of a person or a subject which is again numbers which are numerical in nature is said to be a quantitative data. The shoe size, your shoe size which is in numbers, which is numerical, is a quantitative data, it is measurable. The temperature in a room which is also represented in terms of number is a quantitative data. Now let us look into the examples of a qualitative data. As I already said, the qualitative data represents the name, label or a description about the data. So the color which represents a color of a sea, it is a description about the sea, so it is a qualitative data. The favorite holiday destination places like New Zealand, Hawaii, etc. are the examples of a qualitative data. The name of a person which is used to represent a particular person like John, Patricia are examples of a qualitative data. The ethnicity such as American, Indian, Asian, etc. are examples of a qualitative data because they are used to represent a label or the description about a particular data. Now, here is a small challenge that avoids you to differentiate between the qualitative and the quantitative data among the variables that has been represented. Just think for a while about the variable gender, heart rate, blood pressure and systolic blood pressure. So if you look into gender, so gender is a qualitative data because it is categorical in type which represents either male or female. Whereas the heart rate, it is numerical in nature, so it is said to be a quantitative data. Look into the blood pressure. Again you have systolic and diastolic blood pressures which are measurable. So the blood pressure is again a representation of a quantitative data. So systolic blood pressure is also a quantitative data. Now let us look into the rainfall. The rainfall is measurable, so it is a quantitative data. Jersey number which is used to represent a particular person or it is used to identify a particular player, so it is said to be a qualitative data. The blood alcohol level which is measurable is a quantitative data. The social security number which is an identity of an individual which is used to represent a qualitative data. So what is the main difference between a quantitative data and a qualitative data? So quantitative data are numeric in nature and can be quantified. So your quantitative data can be measured as a numerical variable, whereas the qualitative data which cannot be expressed in terms of numbers, so it cannot be measured. So qualitative data consists of words, pictures and symbols, and they are no longer represented in terms of numbers. So as I told you, examples, the scores of your test and exam, the weight of the person, your shoe size and the temperature in a room are examples of a quantitative data, whereas the qualitative data are your color, the name of the person, the ethnicity, etc. So here is a brief summary about what we have seen as quantitative data and a qualitative data. Now let us look into the other subcategories of this particular qualitative and the quantitative data. So qualitative data can be divided into two types, the nominal data and the ordinal data, whereas quantitative data, which is numerical in nature, can be divided into discrete data and the continuous data. Now we shall look into them in detail. The first one is nominal versus ordinal, which are the two categories of your qualitative data. So nominal data is mainly used for labeling the variable. So without any type of quantitative value. So for example, the nominal comes from the Latin word which is called nomen, which means the name in this particular case. So the nominal data is just you are going to name a particular thing without applying an order. So you are going to give a label for a particular data. Whereas ordinal data, which is placed into some kind of order by their position on a particular scale. So ordinal data usually indicate the superiority. You cannot do any arithmetic with the ordinal numbers because they only show the sequence. So in order to understand them very clearly, let us first look into the nominal data. Nominal represents the name, or you are going to represent a label to a particular data. Example, gender, which is going to classify the gender as male or female. Hair color can be blonde, brown, brunette, red, etc. The marital status like married, single, widowed, etc. Similarly, ethnicity like Hispanic and Asian or nominal data. Whereas look into the ordinal data, there is an order. So there is a position. For example, in a competition, the first, second and third position. The letter grades which represents A, B, C. And similarly, when a company asks the customers to rate the sales experience on the scale of 1 to 10 or some of the examples of the ordinal data. Now let us look into the two types of quantitative data, which are discrete and continuous data. So discrete data is a count that involves only an integer value. So the discrete values cannot be subdivided into parts. For example, the number of children which are present in a class is a discrete data. You cannot count them as 1.5 kids like that. So it's a whole number in this particular case, like the number of students, the number of workers in a company, the number of home runs in a baseball game, the number of test questions you answered correctly. Likewise, it goes on. The next one is a continuous data. So the continuous data could be meaningfully divided into finer levels. It can be measured on a scale, or it is a continuous data and can have a numerical value. So the measure the heights at very precise scale, like in meters, like centimeters or millimeter, etc. Or the amount of time which is required to complete a particular project, the height of the children, the square footage of a 2-bedroom house, the speed of the car. They are continuous data because they can be divided into finer levels. If you cannot divide anything into parts, it is a discrete data. If you can divide them into discrete parts, or if you can divide them into finer levels, that is said to be a continuous data. So data are two types, qualitative and quantitative. The qualitative data can be divided into nominal and ordinal data. The quantitative data can be divided into continuous and discrete data. Continuous data can be divided into interval and the ratios in this particular case. So let us look into this particular example where I have the data set with employee ID, name, age, gender, grade, tenure, salary, family members and increase. we are going to divide them into a qualitative and the quantitative data. As you can see, the employee ID, the name, the gender and the grade, which are used to represent a particular label or a description. So the gender is categorical in nature. So this is a nominal type. The name is also nominal type. Employee ID is nominal type, but grade, you can see it is a qualitative data, but it is ordinal because it is used to specify the position they occupy in the grade level of the employees, who are the senior grade, the mid grade employee, who are the newcomers. All those things are represented by the grade level over here. Now the quantitative data, which is measurable, is divided into discrete and continuous type. So you can see age, the tenure and the salary, all these are continuous in nature. The reason is they can be subdivided into parts, whereas the family members and the percentage of increase in the income cannot be subdivided. So it is a discrete data. So this will give you a clear understanding. When given a data set, you can determine the columns based on qualitative or quantitative data. Under qualitative data, you will be categorize them into nominal, ordinal, and if it is quantitative, under two categories called continuous and the discrete data. Now we will look into the levels of measurement in detail. The nominal data is a name, example. So it represents the gender, subject, department and the name, whereas the ordinal data is like a satisfactory level or the ranking where you follow a particular order. So there is an interval data. Interval is nothing but the temperature, date, time, where you can have an equal interval between the variables. And the ratio is nothing but it is a name, there is an order, there is an equal interval between the variable and has a true zero value. If you can represent a true zero value for that particular variable, you have a ratio like weights, heights, distance. Example, earlier we talked about the systolic pressure. So systolic is nothing but you can represent them as a quantitative data. It is numerical in nature. It belongs to the ratio category. Why it is said to be a ratio category is if you have a zero value for the systolic pressure, then it represents there is no blood flow. So now let us look into detail about the mathematical aggregation, which is used to evaluate the nominal, ordinal, interval and the ratio based data. So the calculations which involve count, mode and frequency distribution can be done for all these four types of data. Whereas sorting and ranking cannot be done for a nominal data, it can be done only for ordinal, interval and ratio based data. Similarly, the median calculation, we cannot do it for a nominal data. We can do it only for ordinal, interval and ratio based data. Similarly, arithmetic bar trim mean is possible only for interval and ratio because they are numeric in nature. Add or subtract again for numerical data, which is interval and ratio. Geometric mean can be done only for ratio type, and divide and multiply can be done only for the ratio type of data. So as you know, the qualitative data, you can provide a description. Quantitative data, they are measured or counted. The quantitative is two types, that is discrete and continuous. So it can be counted, this cannot be counted. So you have another type, that is ordinal and nominal. So ordinal can be counted and there is an order. It can be counted, the nominal can be counted, but there exists no order in this particular case. So all the different data have a critical place in statistical research and in data science. The data types work great together to help the organization and business from all industries build successful data-driven decision-making process. Working in the data management area and having a good range of data science skills involves a deep understanding of various types of data, when to apply them. Now we will look into a scenario and try to understand the different data types that are involved in this particular scenario. Consider the Robotic Research Division at MIT is launching a new project to study the interaction between humans and robots in a domestic setting. The research team has designed a state-of-the-art household robot that can perform various tasks such as cleaning, cooking, and even babysitting. To gauge the robot's effectiveness and areas for improvement, the team decides to conduct a study in which they place the robot in 100 different households for a month. So this is about the case study of an MIT. So the following data has been collected. So the first one represents a quantitative and continuous data. The average time, which is represented in terms of minutes, the robot takes to complete a specific task like cleaning the living room. And there is a quantitative discrete data that has been collected, that is the number of tasks completed by the robot in a day. And you have a qualitative nominal data, which is the brand of household appliances the robot interact with, like the washing machines, the refrigerator, etc., like Samsung, LG, Whirlpool, etc. There is a qualitative ordinal data, that is the satisfaction level of the household member with the robot performance, rated as very dissatisfied, dissatisfied, satisfied, neutral, and very satisfied in this particular case. So now we have got a very clear understanding about the scenario and the data that has been collected from the scenario. So here is a challenging task for you. So given the above scenario, we need to answer the following question. We need to identify and list two tasks that will likely generate quantitative continuous data for the research team. If the team wants to know how many households have a Samsung microwave, which type of data will they refer to? If the research team wants to calculate the median number of tasks completed by the robot in a day, which type of data should they analyze? When analyzing the satisfaction level of household member, which type of data will allow the team to rank the response in a meaningful order? So now let us look into it in a detailed way. So the first one is identify and list two tasks that will likely generate quantitative, it's a continuous data for the research team. So any task where the time taken can vary and it isn't restricted to whole numbers can be considered as a continuous data. So from the scenario that is given, the time taken by the robot to clean the room. So here where the time is involved here. So the time taken by the robot to clean the particular room is considered as a continuous data. The time taken by the robot to cook the meal can also be considered as a continuous data in this particular case. So we can use this particular thing to answer the first question. So the second question is, if the team wants to know how many households have a Samsung microwave, which type of data will they refer to? They will refer to the qualitative nominal data, which indicates the brand of the household appliances. So here you have a nominal data, the brand of the household appliances to which the robot interacts. So that can give an information about how many households have a Samsung microwave, which type of data they refer to. So usually they refer to a nominal data in this particular case. So the next question is, if the research team wants to calculate the median number of tasks completed by the robot in a day, which type of data should they analyze? So they should analyze anything that is numerical in nature. So it is a quantitative data. So since they want to calculate the median number, it is a quantitative discrete data which will represent the number of tasks that is completed by the robot in a day, will help the research team to calculate the corresponding median value. So the last question is, when analyzing the satisfaction level of household member, which type of data will allow the team to rank the responses in a meaningful way? You have a qualitative ordinal data which allows the team to rank the responses as the satisfaction level, which varies from very dissatisfied to very satisfied. So they have an inherent order to them. So this can be used to perform the calculation. So certainly types of data in statistics, as we have already seen, can be broadly categorized as qualitative or categorical data. So categorical data is a nominal data and the ordinal data. The quantitative data, which are numeric in nature, are categorized into two types, which is continuous and the discrete data. Again, they can categorized under, if it is discrete data, you have the interval data and the ratio data which are present. So now let us move to the next question to determine whether we are able to identify the different types of data. Consider you are conducting a survey in your city to determine the most popular pet. The options provided for you are dog, cat, fish and birds. May I know which type of data you are collecting? So from the options you can see you are collecting the information which are related to the dog, cat, fish and bird. So it is said to be qualitative in nature. So the type of data that you are going to collect does not have an order. So you have a category in it. So it is a nominal data. Now let us move to the second question. In a restaurant, the feedback from the customers are asked to rate the ambience as poor, average, good or excellent. What type of data is it? So it is about the ambience of the food. So again it is qualitative in nature, but you have an order. The rating provides you the order whether the food is excellent or whether the food is poor. So this comes under the qualitative data, which are categorical in nature. Under categorical, since you have an order, it is an ordinal data. Now let us move to the third question. You have a meteorological records, the temperature in a city over a week in degree Celsius. The values are 10 degree, 12 degree, 9 degree, 11 degree, 13 degree, 10 degree and 12 degree. What type of data has been collected? Since there is an interval between this particular data, it is a quantitative data, it is numerical in nature, it is an interval based data. Now let us look into the next one. You have a gym trainer who measures the weight of his client in kilogram. He records the weight such as 65 kg, 72 kg, 78 kg and 90 kg. What type of data it is? So it is again a quantitative data. The values are numeric in nature. It is a ratio data. So if you find this particular video to be useful and it is helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more enlightening content. Thank you for watching the video.